Hey everybody, it's Cauliflower Man here, and I'm bringing you guys another video on cryptocurrencies. In today's video, I'm going to try something a little bit new. Instead of just throwing up the PowerPoint slides, which I know is not the most exciting thing to watch, if you look way back on this channel, when I started it, it was just video games. The reason why it was just video games is I wanted to see exactly how YouTube worked, and plus I thought it'd be sweet if I could make it as a video game YouTuber, because I mean it's a lot more fun and a lot less taxing than trying to talk about cryptocurrencies. But anyways, so for this video, I'm actually gonna, instead of just having the PowerPoint slide up, obviously you can see right now there's gameplay of me playing Fortnite actually, and it's just so everybody knows, like, I don't play video games all that terribly often, so if you're looking for like the best gameplay of Fortnite, this is not it. This is a cryptocurrency channel, and I want to talk about that, but it's more interesting to watch this than it is to just watch a PowerPoint slide. I'll still put the PowerPoints up there so you can, read them quickly, but if you want to read the full thing, you might have to pause it. But anyways, today's video I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to compare a lot of different cryptocurrencies. A lot of these cryptocurrencies I haven't talked about too much today, and I'm not necessarily saying all these are great buys. These are ones that I think are strong for different reasons. And so let's just go ahead and get into it. First coin that I have here is Vertcoin. Now, the one thing that I love about Vertcoin is the developers seem to be on steroids, and what I mean by that is like Vertcoin and Litecoin. I don't know exactly who the developer of Vertcoin is, but Vertcoin and Litecoin have been working for a long time on things like atomic swaps. They're really quick to make changes like adopting the Bitcoin Lightning Network, or technically speaking for Vertcoin, it would be Vertcoin Lightning. But that's really what I like about this coin. The developers really seem to be doing quite a lot. The next thing too is that they have these stealth addresses coming. So what a stealth address is, it's like a change of address basically. So you will give somebody one address to send bitcoins to, but when the bitcoins are sent, or not bitcoins, vertcoins in this case, but when the vertcoins are sent to that address, it actually goes to an address it doesn't actually go to the stealth address. The stealth address creates another address that the vertcoin go to. The reason why you want something like this is because then it hides how much money you have just from random strangers. I've said this before, on the Bitcoin blockchain, you can look up certain people that you know just by their wallet address and see exactly how much money they have. If they were using stealth addresses, then you couldn't do this, and so that's way better. That's absolutely way better. There's a lot of good things about stealth addresses. It basically makes it almost like the more of a modern banking system, where when you send money somewhere, like you know where to send money to, but you don't know how much money the person you're sending money to has. So that's always just better. Stealth addresses are a great thing. They're adopting SegWit and Lightning ASAP. They've already done, adopted SegWit. They're trying to get Lightning done as quick as possible. So as far as this goes back to their developers being on steroids, their development team is super solid. Okay, if you're looking for something with a solid development team, Vertcoin has a super solid development team. The fourth point here is it's dedicated to ASIC resistance. I've already made videos on this. I don't think this is necessarily an advantage, but it's important enough to know that, okay, it's got ASIC resistance, so it's not going to be mined by ASIC, so there's probably more miners out there. Like Bitcoin mining, there's not as many miners, but with ASIC resistant coins, there's a lot of smaller time miners. So it has that. Again, I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing, but it is something to be noted when you're talking about a cryptocurrency. But the final point I want to make about Vertcoin is it's not the most private coin on the market. Now, I don't even think that they're trying to make it like a private or a privacy-centric coin, so that's not the market they're going for. But if you're looking for something super stealthy, the fact that it has stealth addresses doesn't mean it's incredibly private. Stealth addresses, again, they are more private than not having stealth addresses, but it's not something like the coin join of Dash, and it's not something like the zero knowledge of Zcash or Zcoin or Pivx. But anyways, that's my take on Vertcoin. The next coin I want to talk about is Litecoin. Now, Litecoin, again, I just talked about this when I was talking about Vertcoin. The Litecoin and Vertcoin developers, super great. Charlie Lee is a great crypto developer, so he works a lot with Vertcoin on the new applications. And again, this goes for like atomic swaps. I can't say this for sure, but I'm pretty sure Litecoin and Vertcoin are sort of the leaders in atomic swaps. And all I mean by that is like they've done atomic swaps before, and I'm talking about on-chain atomic swaps. That means without the Lightning Network. You can also do off-chain atomic swaps with the Lightning Network. Again, I'm not the biggest fan of the Lightning Network, but I just want to make it clear you can do on-chain or off-chain atomic swaps, so they're doing on-chain swaps right now. The reason why that they don't really do atomic transactions and on-chain atomic swaps or whatever you want to call them, they don't do that with Bitcoin because the fees are so high. So it's something like, or when you do an atomic swap, you have to pay the fees for both sides of the currency or whatever, because obviously you're doing one transaction on one blockchain, the other transaction on the other. So it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense with Bitcoin because of how high the fees are. That goes into my third point here. The fees on Litecoin, they're far lower than Bitcoin. Fourth point, it's no longer ASIC resistant. It was originally created as an ASIC resistant coin, but it's not really ASIC resistant anymore, and it doesn't support stealth addresses to my knowledge. The one thing that I don't really like about the Litecoin community, and this is the community, not necessarily the developers. Maybe they are coming out with stealth addresses, but I don't think they are. To my knowledge, I don't think they are. Someone can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong on this, but the one thing I don't like about the Litecoin community is they seem to be very opposed to any sort of privacy measures, which is really bad for the long-term security of the coin. And the reason why I say that is if you listen to Jamie Dimon's recent interview on Bitcoin, he said governments are going to crush it, okay? So when you're talking about cryptocurrencies, you have to realize at some point the government's going to turn on them and try and destroy them. So privacy is not just like so that people don't know what you're doing with your money. It's to protect yourself from a tyrannical government. If your coin's not private, they can completely destroy your coin in a matter of days. If it is private, it's a lot harder to do. So privacy is a huge thing in the crypto space. If you don't want a private centric coin, you know, that's super risky, and that's all I'm gonna say on that. But anyways, that's my thoughts on Litecoin. Again, Litecoin and Vertcoin, I would say Vertcoin's probably a little bit better of a buy than Litecoin. They're not exactly what I would say are the strongest cryptocurrencies, but they're definitely very solid. This next one that I want to talk about is Ethereum. Now, Ethereum is really sort of weird to me. The reason why I say it's weird to me, and I've said this before in my videos, I am biased when it comes to these coins. I am biased like in the sense that I'm a crypto anarchist. Like, I'm an old school crypto anarchist. It doesn't mean like I'm actually very old. It just means I've been into the crypto anarchist scene, I guess, for quite a while. And the original crypto anarchists never really liked what they call ICO-able coins, any coin that you can create an ICO with. That being said, Ethereum has Skeletor. That's what I like to call him, Vitalik Buterin. He is my favorite developer of all the coins. Now, it's weird for me because it's like, I love Skeletor, but I'm not the biggest fan of the type of product he's working on. And one of the reasons why I love Skeletor. We'll get into this later on, but like ICOs are on the rise, and that's going to sort of help Ethereum because if people are making a lot of money on ICOs, Ethereum's kind of the way to do it with their ERC20 tokens or whatever. It's also basically the smart contract blockchain. Like there's other ones like Arc, Neo, Icon, but if you listen to like the Arc developer in any of his interviews, like it's really bad. It's really bad. If you listen to Vitalik Buterin, like that guy is a fucking genius. He is the man. But the other thing too, and this is the fifth point, and this is one of the reasons why I really like Buterin, is because Buterin, he's very honest. He acknowledges that a lot of ICOs are scams. He talks about this in a lot of interviews. Just Google it. He doesn't necessarily use the word scams, but he says a lot of people who are investing in ICOs are going to lose a lot of money, and he's very open about that. The other thing is he is one of the few developers that openly talks about the weaknesses of his coin, and one of the main weaknesses is blockchain bloat. You know, that's a common weakness that applies to basically every cryptocurrency. So I'm not saying like Ethereum's a weak coin because of this, but he acknowledges it. Like, he is very open, he's very honest, he's incredibly knowledgeable, and so that's why I love Vitalik Buterin. So if you're talking about like any sort of cryptocurrency that has a super solid team behind it, it's like Vitalik Buterin's the guy. Satoshi Nakamoto is no longer working on Bitcoin, so you can't say Bitcoin's got the best developers. It's basically, if you're talking about the best developer, I guess maybe Bitcoin's developers as a whole are better than Skeletor, but I love Skeletor. And the fourth point too is it's got a lot of programmers building apps for it, so that's always really good because Ethereum as a sort of a smart contract thing, it's more applicable for a programmer. It's not super applicable for your average person. It's a little bit harder to use, but programmers seem a lot more interested in Ethereum, and they like working on it. So Ethereum, again, if I'm biased against Ethereum because I'm an old school crypto anarchist, and I don't like coins that you can do ICOs for or smart contracts. And it's not because I don't see any value in them. I just think they're way overhyped, and I think you should do smart contracts and things outside of the blockchain. I don't think you should really necessarily do them within a blockchain, or at least not in the method Ethereum is. But again, Ethereum, if you're talking about a coin that you can create ICOs with and use smart contracts with, Ethereum's the place to be. Our next coin that I want to talk about is Bitcoin Cash. So Bitcoin Cash, I've talked about this one before. I said it was an interesting one to watch, and the reason why I like Bitcoin Cash is because it's the only coin trying to scale on the blockchain. So this is super important because what sets you apart as a cryptocurrency is doing something unique. And it also uses the SHA-256 algorithm. So if it starts competing against Bitcoin and doing well, it's competing for the market share of Bitcoin, while other coins are competing for the market shares of the algorithm with which they are mined. But Bitcoin Cash competes with the Bitcoin miners, and so that, like, I love coins that have balls. This obviously was not necessarily because the developers behind it have balls, but because it was a fork of Bitcoin Cash. I can't see in Bitcoin Gold because they went to ASIC resistance. Like, I don't like that at all. I think, well, Bitcoin Gold is kind of shitty anyways, but Bitcoin Gold makes no sense to me. But Bitcoin Cash, it really makes a lot of sense to me. Now, whether or not they can actually make it workable, this is all up to the devs. So I don't know much about the devs on Bitcoin Cash. I don't know. I'm not saying that Bitcoin Cash is a great thing, but the thing that's great about Bitcoin Cash is it's the same thing as Bitcoin. Fees are far lower. It's the only Bitcoin fork that offers something tangible. They keep trying to come out with Bitcoin forks now. Bitcoin Cash is really the only real Bitcoin fork. The rest of them are just kind of bullshit where they're trying to make money. Bitcoin Cash is legitimate. It has a legitimate purpose. It's keeping everything on the blockchain, which is completely different to the road that Bitcoin is going when it's going to take or when it adopts Bitcoin Lightning. Okay, Bitcoin Lightning, there's a lot of issues with Bitcoin Lightning. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying if you can do with Bitcoin Cash what you can do with the I don't want to call it the original Bitcoin because technically speaking, Bitcoin Cash is more true to the vision of Satoshi Nakamoto. So Bitcoin Cash is kind of the original Bitcoin, but Bitcoin Core, I guess you could call it, the one that's going to adopt Bitcoin Lightning, it's the bigger Bitcoin as of right now. But Bitcoin Cash actually offers something, so it's very, very unique. It's something that I really want to watch. Again, I have a lot of Bitcoin Cash just because I had a lot of Bitcoin when it came out and I haven't sold, and I don't plan on selling because the more I read about it, the more I like it. Again, I don't know if this is necessarily going to take off, but it's very interesting to me. Some things that aren't really that great about Bitcoin Cash, I don't like forks, especially forks on old coins. Like if a fork comes out on a new coin, it can usually work. If you look at the fork, Zencash forked off of Z Classic, and Z Classic is it's still around. It's not dead, but Zencash is doing far better than Z Classic. A young fork like that tends to work. Forks that happen later in a coin's existence don't tend to work as well. It's just because when you fork an older coin, people wonder, why didn't you just create your own new coin? If it's a new coin and you fork it early, then it's like, okay, you forked it because you didn't like something going on with it. I think actually Monero might have done the same thing, because I know when Monero was originally created, there was a guy behind it in the community, like they followed him at first, but they didn't like what he was doing, and I think they forked it. But that was when it was young. Again, young coins can fork well, older coins not so sure. And the final thing about Bitcoin Cash, it needs something big for on-chain scaling. You can't just say, well, you can. I mean, what they're kind of planning on doing is just making the block size bigger and bigger. Well, that makes it so that users can actually download the blockchain for themselves. And I talked about this when I was talking about ARK. If you remove the blockchain, and obviously I've talked about this when I talked about Bitcoin Lightning too, but if you remove the blockchain, then you don't really have anything behind the currency, so you don't want to completely remove the blockchain for most of your users. Otherwise, that kind of eliminates the purpose for it. So if they make the blockchain too big for your average user to download any part of it, that's not a good thing. I've already covered this in videos. What they should do is they should separate the blockchain into different parts, and each user, like if you can't download the full blockchain because it's too big, they should offer options where you download only a partial blockchain, and that partial blockchain will include all of your own transactions, so you still get all the benefits of being able to look at your own blockchain that you have synced up for your own transactions, even though you can't see it for every single transaction. But again, you don't need to see every single transaction on a blockchain. You just need to see enough to know that it works, and you need every single one of your own personal transactions. So I hope they come out with something like that. If they do, there's a good chance that Bitcoin Cash could actually reach parity with Bitcoin. But again, this isn't something that's necessarily likely to happen. So the final coin that I want to talk about in this video is Dash, and there's going to be more parts to this coin comparison videos, so you guys know. I know there's going to be like at least 5 or 10 more coins I want to talk about. These are all coins I think are solid. I'm not necessarily saying, you know, invest in it and you're going to for sure make your money. That's not how crypto works, but these are just coins I like. Dash is the things I like about Dash is it's the dominant privacy-based coin. It's the #1 market cap for a privacy-based coin. It can be mined or staked to generate coins. And I have staked in quotation marks because technically speaking, the block verification is done through proof of work. So the staking that you do with a master node, it's not really staking. You're helping to create, or you're helping to offer the coin join services, but you receive coins in return for it, just like you would kind of do for staking. So that's why I have it in quotations marks. So you're getting paid like you're staking it, even though that's technically not exactly what you're doing. But the good thing about that is that if you don't know how to do mining well, you know, you can still generate coins through the staking of Dash. Third point is that the mixing, it's easy to use and understand. One thing, like certain mixing services or ways that you mix or privatize your coins on certain coins, it's not that great. But with Dash, it's just you click a button on, you know, and it'll mix your coins for a while, and you want to let them mix for a little bit, and then you send them out. So that's a very easy. It's very easy to do. It's very understandable. It's very intuitive. So it's really great. It's also one of the few ASIC privacy coins. So most privacy coins are ASIC resistant. Dash was originally meant to be ASIC resistant, but ASICs now exist for Dash. I've said this again, or I've said this multiple times. I like coins that use ASICs. They have better security. You know, ASIC resistance, it means that it's easier for your average person to mine the coin, but I don't see why that's necessarily a good thing. I've always liked ASICs. So I like that Dash is one of the few ASIC, or one of the few privacy coins that uses ASICs. But the final thing about Dash is that other coins offer better privacy. And I said this earlier in this video, privacy, it's more than just, you know, I don't want people to know where my money is. It's protection against a tyrannical government. Some people will say the privacy is not as good as other coins, so why ever use Dash? Well, because the privacy is good enough that like you won't have any problems. The main way that they try and find you, and by they I just mean government actors, if you're using a cryptocurrency, is they can know for most coins. There's very few coins that cover that make this private, but your IP address, that's what gets you. So when you're using a coin, your IP address shows that you're using this coin. So for something like Bitcoin, let's say you have an exchange or something and you have to have a large amount of Bitcoin, because for Bitcoin, if you're using small amounts of Bitcoins, there's enough small transactions that you get hidden. But if you do a large transaction, maybe say $5,000 to $10,000 in Bitcoin, there aren't that many transactions going through the blockchain that are of that size. So what they actually do is they will see which IP addresses are linked up to Bitcoin nodes at the time that a certain transaction that they want to trace occurs, and then they will see, they'll check your bank records, they'll check everything. The government has access to everything because they're a bunch of faggots, but they will check all of your personal information, your banking records and whatnot, and try and match that up. So let's say there's a transaction of 5,000 Bitcoin one day. They will look back through bank records and be like, okay, who put $5,000 or so into an exchange, or you know, who bought $5,000 worth of Bitcoin in an exchange, and they know all this data, so they can correlate it like that. So it's a bit of work for something like Bitcoin, but why Dash works is because they can't check per like any individual transaction, so that link is completely broken. With Dash, with the mixing service, when you send the coins through a mixing or through the coin join service, what it does is it makes it impossible for anyone to trace a specific transaction. Now, technically speaking, somebody's going to come in here and be like, oh, you can still learn certain things about it. You can, but instead of for Bitcoin, like if you're doing a $5,000 to $10,000 transaction in Bitcoin, that's pretty easy to trace. For Dash, you have to use like millions of dollars. Like, it's very hard to trace Dash. And for anyone who says, you know, that the privacy is not good enough, you're completely lying. The privacy for Bitcoin is almost good enough, so the privacy for Dash is definitely good enough. Now, there are coins that offer better privacy, but Dash is good enough and it's very easy to use. So you know, it's I really do like Dash. I know, like, I have other coins that I've bought that have better privacy than Dash, but to say that Dash is not private is completely retarded. But anyways, that's the end of this video. Hope you like it. Let me know in the comments below what you thought about, you know, me having video game gameplay in the background. I don't know that I'll always be able to do this, but I do want to make these, you know, funner for you guys to watch. I know it's not fun to just sit there and stare at a PowerPoint slide. So hopefully you guys like this better, so let me know in the comments below.